Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. How about you?
Been all right. I might have a screaming cat in the background, so sorry about
Oh, no
that.
worries. I know how that feels. My cat was screaming at me this morning, and then I figured out it was because he got pampered last week while we were out at DrupalCon. My father-in-law would come over and just give him like so much like canned food, and
Oh yeah.
like that's what he was screaming at me about. So I was like, "Oh, okay, yes, you want the canned food this time." I will give you some.
I
So
came
how is
home
everyone?
to I came home to my two well-trained dogs suddenly on the couch and on the bed and things they're not supposed to be on. So I feel ya.
Yep. Oh, I can't keep her off of furniture. So how was DrupalCon? Looks like
Amazing, amazing.
lots of folks turned out, it seemed.
Yeah, it's pretty hopping. It was interesting to be back in it was in a ho in the hotel, so it was like, oh, I'll be right back. I need to run up to my room and drop off something, and then you go. Which is it had pros, but also cons. That it was just like didn't feel like I left enough. I went outside. But it's
Makes
okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the Japanese DrupalCon coming up as a possibility, just because it's actually more accessible now that I'm here on the West Coast, and
Nice.
it's
Nice.
tempting, very tempting. Well, I guess congratulations are in order too on the Aaron Winborn Award. Congrats, Kristen.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Uh, yeah. I mean, I knew about it ahead of time for a couple weeks, and they're like, "Don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody." I
Sworn
told
to
my
secrecy.
husband, yeah, I told my husband and my kids, and then I had to just zip it. So yeah, it was.
But you faked the surprise so well on stage. I was like, wow. No,
No, yeah,
movie magic.
yeah, moving exactly. No, I I had some warning and wasn't. I don't know. Ch have you seen it yet or?
Yeah, I watched the keynote
Okay.
right after it came out, and
Okay, gotcha. So
I
yeah, I
I tried
wasn't,
to.
yeah, I had thought about talking about mental health previously, but then I was like, ah, I don't want to bring down the vibe. I'll just say thank you. But then we lost someone at work. Literally, I found out as the plane was landing,
Mhm.
and I'm like, no, no, I'm back to talking about mental health. So yeah, but it seemed well received. I had, yeah, perfect strangers coming up to me and crying but just like very open about their struggles and that, fortunately everyone was in a better place now, but yeah. So yeah, it was a very cathartic week as well as an exciting week, and there was a lot going on. So
Well,
ah,
I think it was well timed too, because there have been so many people losing their jobs,
yeah,
and that takes quite the toll on mental health. So
for
thank you for
sure.
speaking out about that. As I always tell people, it takes courage to say things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it was a little conflicted only because, it's like, yay, Drees, no, yeah, and I actually ended up talking to him at some dinner thing, and he was sitting across from me, and, halfway in the dinner, he's like, oh, thank you for, what you said. And I was like, well, I was a little worried it's gonna like bring down the vibe. He's like, no, 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 it was good and whatever. So I was like, okay. Phew. Yeah. So,
Well, how was your presentation? How did that go?
oh, well, Sarah, you were there, right? I saw you in the,
Hmm.
I think.
It was
Um,
a full house.
it was the last session on the last session day, so and in sort of the basement, it felt like down there. So
I got lost.
I had very low expectations, but it was kind of standing room. There was a few people that were standing, so it was full. And the coolest part I thought was people there. So, a good chunk of people left, but there was maybe 15 people that stayed. And because, we were officially over, and I just kept answering questions. So there was just sort of huddled around, and I kept recording. I haven't watched, only watched half of it so far, but answering questions. And it was funny because I got a group of the previous award winners came down. They were trying to do a photo, and they came down to extract me from there. They're like, no more questions, no more questions. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. So yeah, so that was kind of funny.
So I guess
But
the Dries note covering experience builder was probably kind of a good setup too.
yeah, but there were at least five other sessions that were talking about experience builder. So I kind of expected everyone to be like, yeah, I'm done. I get it. I get it. It's cool. But yeah, no, people were like super engaged. Except for a couple people. You always got a couple in the audience that they're like, they're done for the day. Their eyes are drooping and all that. But
The hardest slot to present is right at the very end. You have to be so energetic just to keep people's attention.
yeah, but yeah, no, I'd say generally it was people were very lively, and I tried to do questions kind of throughout, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
I had a BOF that was organized at the same time that I hadn't told anybody about.
Oh,
And my plan had been to kind of promote it, but then other stuff got away. So I was like, yeah, no one will be there. And I went down there, like five people in the room. I'm like, oh crap. I have to
what was the
spin up
boss?
something
What was the
on
boss?
my simplified Drupal thing.
Oh, okay, cool, nice.
Um, yeah. I mean, just threw something in there to get speed up, but it was pretty overwhelming. I mean, I've personally never experienced a DrupalCon that it was that like
Full on, full,
enveloping.
yeah. It used to be before Barcelona. I went to almost no sessions. I'd go, if I was presenting, obviously I went to my own, but maybe a close friend maybe was presenting, and so I'd go and sit in and sort of support that person. But I was just like chatting in the hallways. So I was, yeah, it was just full on. I pretty much all the slots I was like, oh, I need to be in two or three places at once. How am I supposed to do?
Right?
Or like
Um,
10. It seemed like there was like 10 or 20 sessions at once.
Mhm. There was one
yeah,
time
there was a
slot.
lot. There was a lot.
It was
Um,
dizzying.
Yeah, there was one
yeah.
time flat where I remember seeing like 11 sessions that I marked on like the Sessionize app that I was like, I really want to go to these. And I realized, like, wait a minute, they're all at the same time. What am I going to do?
Yeah, there's a prioritization that I give advice to newcomers all the time is, sessions are recorded, which is good. So it's good to mark those that you like, so that way you can kind of queue them up in a playlist later on if you can't attend them. But definitely go to the BOFs if you see one or want to organize one. And definitely go to a session if you want to ask questions of the presenter or the panel or whatnot. That tends to help.
Yeah.
That was such good advice. I tried to follow that the whole time. If I had a question or to just try to do that hallway track and then just binge watch everything when I got home because it was just, you just couldn't go to everything.
Yeah, it's just too much. It's just
And
too
I
much.
was
It's good.
shocked at how much meaningful conversation you'd get at a social event too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like we're playing, I don't know,
Yeah.
random board games, and it was like, whoa, that was an impromptu boff on a couple of different subjects. It was, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It was funny. One of the boffs, so the head of the AI track, Jamie, he had organized an AI boff, and it was like, okay, trying to help him do some organization stuff. So I was like, okay, well, definitely got to go to that. So I go, and then he doesn't show up. I was like, what? Fortunately, Marcus, who is the developer that does a lot of, most of the code, he was there. And then we had a couple other people that have been kind of actively helping out. So there was four of us. But I was like, dude, you made a buff and you didn't show up to it.
That's
Oh,
bad form. I mean, it could be that just where I've gotten to in the Drupal universe. I went from knowing like a lot of people in the Drupal world to after this, I feel like I know everybody. There's no stone left unturned, and it was particularly fun on contribution day because I was making connections. Like I was walking between the tables and hearing things and be like, oh, well, actually over here.
yeah.
Jamie was one of the people that I was like, I was doing something with Jamie and. Uh, like Drupalism came up, so I flagged on Emma Harrell who was walking by, and it was all these like instant instant impromptu committees to like solve problems. It was really fun.
Yeah, I was just telling one of my coworkers that I didn't actually open my computer on contribution day at all because I was going from table to table and like, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, let me go talk to so and so. And so I ended up, I think, clocking about 8,000 steps within very few
Ooh,
rooms, right? Because I would go downstairs to the mentors area and then come back up, whatever. But I was like, how did I do 8,000 steps? There wasn't that much space that we were occupying. It was pretty funny. But it was good. It was really, really good, actually. A lot of clarity, at least for the stuff that I'm involved in, came together having the right people in the room and something that probably would have taken, weeks of async, you know,
oh yeah.
hack and everything.
I was blown away with how well Drupal CMS seems to be progressing. Like it seemed like there were all these ambitious targets, and I was kind of skeptical. I was like, seen projects like this that throw a lot of bullet points and say we're going to do this, 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 but like I saw all this stuff being demoed. I was like, holy cow, that,
Yeah.
that's really solidified pretty quick.
I think Drupal's had a few years of initiatives where they've figured out how to actually rally people and prioritize what needs to be done. I think that really makes a difference in our community. But that's good feedback is seeing how things are tracking because this has been quite the ambitious initiative.
Yeah, and I think the what really ramped up the contributions, I don't know if they showed that graph in the Dries node or maybe it was another one where they showed the amount of contribution just in general. And it's up like 40% or something over last year, which was already up a bit or whatever. It was a very sizable jump, but it was really connecting with the, Drupal certified partners and saying, okay, what are you going to own? And how can you lead this, really trying to get people to own a piece and run with it, and then have other collaborators. But yeah, I think the model's been working pretty well. I think some of the areas it's a little more challenging, like the AI stuff. There's so many different threads that are being pulled that it's hard to know, like, oh, well, I want to help. Like, there's 15 different AI related things that are happening, right? So where do you start? And so that's maybe been one of the more challenging
I
areas.
I started by sitting down at the AI table and having like the project leads configure my laptop to get past all the problems. I mean, that was
Oh,
sort of selfish, but like kind of awesome tech support. Yeah. We found a bug, we filed it, it's being fixed. Like,
well,
kind of
but
cool.
them enabling you means that you can help them, right? So
That's the theory.
yeah. So yeah. Anyone have a favorite session?
the Dries note follow up, but I don't know if does that really count.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a session.
Yeah, I'd count it.
Really good discussion there. I was there
Mhm.
too. It was
The marketplace one.
yeah, um
Yeah.
so many ideas of where it could go and a lot of concerns about the pitfalls of the WordPress marketplace and how um, that has gone to a much devalued marketplace, and there's
Mm,
some exemplary themes in it, but the majority is just crap. So,
yeah.
and so a lot of people being concerned of we don't want it to end up to be that. And then you had your agency owners talking about, well, I don't know if I really want to do it at all. And you had others making the um, use case that it could be a stepping stone and bring you this whole other uh, funnel of customers that they start with you small and then build into a larger enterprise one later. Put a junior dev on it or something, do kind of like a mixed support, minimal support with it, semi-custom sort of thing, and then come in that early stage with them where they can afford you at somewhere between 1 grand to 3 grand, and then have like a tiered stepping stone approach to go higher. And I could see that definitely helping the agencies instead of just always going after the big six-figure clients, especially when everyone gets affected by budget cuts. Then it's like, what are you going to do when these entities then can't afford your six-figure fees?
especially with all the job loss. I mean, this is a
Hmm.
great thing for a bunch of out of work developers to actually perhaps make some side money at least. I mean, that's what the WordPress market has been doing for a long time. Not necessarily in the best way, but they've been doing it.
And then
Yeah.
you get entire like development agencies in the WordPress realm where then they just focus on a certain plugin family and just develop that to hacking on, and then that becomes really exemplary. So you have these then side project sort of things. So I think Dries said all modules would remain open source. So um, but he said there's still going to be some sort of opportunity for that as well. So I didn't really understand how you would have some open source and then some not. But um, it did have a lot of promise of where it could go, but there was a healthy dose of skepticism on just anyone putting something through and then it tarnishing the record of Drupal. So,
I think for a long time, people talked about things like bounty programs as another way to try to drum up interest in investing in something that, popularity vote sort of thing. Um, I I also know Jacob Rockowitz has been extremely outspoken. He's the guy that makes the WordPress mod, or sorry, not WordPress, web form module
Web
for anyone.
form.
Yeah, for anyone not familiar. Nice guy, but I think he likes to beat the drum, and personally, I agree with him about people should get paid for their time. It is open source, and what the work that he does and many of us do is still back to the community, but you're paying for the time. So I'd love to see how that might play out in this idea of a marketplace. It looks like they're at least treading lightly, but treading it purposefully towards something.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing the open source free thing for 2 decades now, and I think that's baked into the culture enough that it's not like that's going to evaporate. I mean, that would, if that even eroded a little bit, there'll be like social action and protective against that. But I think we're experiencing the other problems that there's clearly a need for financial viability to work its way into Drupal. It's funny. I was talking with Chicks a little bit, who's been coming by Bluefly and things like that, and got my first selfie with him for along with everybody else. um, and I remember back at Bad Camp in 2015 talking with chicks in a Bad Camp presentation, and I was surprised that he was trying to find like enough money to survive at that point. And I'm thinking like, wait a minute, you're chicks. If you're having a hard time, that's not your fault. That suggests that there's something wrong with the system. And I mean, at the time I was working at Accenture, and I was on projects where, you know, the burn rate was like $100,000 a week, and just like little bits of the kind of money that the chicks was looking for were like a barbell for Accenture, and I was trying to figure out like there's got to be a way to connect those things and make it sustainable. I have a thing as long as I have the floor.
Yeah, go for it.
Isn't Natalie still here?
She
so
is.
so
Oh yeah, I'm still
eh,
here.
yeah, yeah. Natalie was asking about this before because my personal favorite moment was a moment in the marketplace off near the end. Um, I was chatting with Natalie with like right back to the stage, and I hear someone come up behind me, trying to come to the conversation. I turn around and it's Dries, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he says, "Oh, I want to talk with Natalie." So I go, "I don't know. Natalie's a pretty important person. Her time is valuable. Like, do you have an appointment?" And it's kind of goofing like that. He's like, "No, no, I don't. I apologize. I'll wait my turn. I'll wait." Like he played along with it. It was great.
I don't even remember what you and I were talking. It had to have been about the site templates. Like,
I think it was, yeah.
but it was great. It was a great moment.
It was funny.
I think I was like, I'll let me check my calendar.
Um,
Well, Natalie, you shared one of your favorite sessions in the chat here.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Matthew Saunders, I think his like Drupal.org username is Matthews. He ended up giving his session about the neurodivergency superpower and how it can kind of contribute to helping diversify teams and function better. And it really resonated with me on a personal level. Full disclosure, if you haven't noticed it by now, I'm pretty neurodivergent. Very, very very intense ADHD on my end. And it is challenging, for me to kind of, you know, feel or find my way in, I guess like the stereotypical kind of like work environment, and seeing, sort of the like some of the data that, he brought up from, some of the books and whatnot that he's been reading that kind of, showed like, yeah, like unfortunately right now, the unemployment rate or underemployment rate for, like society at large is X amount, but for folks who, are neurodivergent, it's even more. Like it kind of made me feel less alone, if that makes any sense. Um, and I liked when he ended up, kind of covering about how, oh, I don't remember the name of the graphs that he was showing, but it was a graph of, different people and kind of like, the different traits, adaptability or attentiveness and things like that. And that there uh it, basically what he was showing was that a lot of times when you kind of have a team mixed with let's say neurotypicals and neurodivergent folks, you're kind of like balancing out each other's gaps, which kind of then kind of makes your team much more well-rounded, less susceptible to sort of like a group think, in a sense where maybe on a team where everybody's kind of pretty much homogenous, in a sense, people are less willing to kind of like speak up about like, hey, yeah, I know that right now maybe we're all in on, this particular idea at the moment, but have we considered X, Y, Z, or, kind of like highlighting other aspects that maybe, the group hasn't considered. Um, I don't know. It just really like struck me on a personal level. And like it's a talk that I'm definitely going to be sending around to my mother-in-law, who's like a teacher in grade school, and like other folks as well, uh, who, this topic would like really, really resonate strongly for.
I feel like this is the DrupalCon where we neurodivergence came out of the closet.
For sure, yes. And I love it.
That's great. That is fantastic. Well,
I love
I was curious. So last year they did the sunflower, the green lanyards. Did they do that again this year for the
Yeah.
hidden
Well, no,
disabilities?
they did a pin, a
Okay.
sunflower pin.
yeah, little pin.
Yeah.
So anybody that's not familiar, the idea is not everybody has visible disabilities, and this is a way of expressing either that you have one or that you support people with them. So if you're not familiar, but Matthew Saunders, among many other people, have been pretty outspoken about those sort of issues in our community. And I say issue. I have ADHD and autism. It's an issue when it overcomes you and overwhelms you, and it really takes over your life. But it can also be, as some people say, a superpower. It can be something that allows you to channel that energy in a very focused way. My friend, who's a UX specialist here in Vancouver, her daughter has, a similar sort of issues, and I think many people can relate, struggling with education. Well, she got to a point where she found something that's a bit more vocation trade focused. So doing welding and things like that. I can tell you from personal experience, I love math. I hated English and history. When you find something that you're really good at, it makes a world of difference. And that's, I think, where I want to bring it back to Drupal. All of us share that deep love of what Drupal can do. And many of us can understand the idea of just sitting down and hyper focusing, and all of a sudden 6 hours have disappeared, but you see some sort of massive result of what it is that you've produced. And there's a point of pride for that. But we also have to be sure not to burn ourselves out, take care of ourselves, be gentle with ourselves and other people. And I like that a lot of people are becoming more outspoken about those good mental health practices. And if you or anybody that you know is struggling, if you can find therapy or mental health support, those are really important things, tools that you can develop over time to, just have good routine, get proper nutrition, doing the things that you need to do that are healthy for you. It's not always about medicine or just, things like that. But I'm not a health professional. Seek the help of a professional.
I appreciated them having quiet spaces, quiet rooms.
Yeah.
Um, I'm autistic as well, and I love how many other neurodivergent there are here because I have felt quite alone before in silos. And going to conference, I was like, oh my God, these are my people. This is awesome. And then when just session after session and then all of that socializing, and I was just like, oh my God, I need a moment. And there were places, and that was awesome. And I could just come down from all of it.
That
It
overstimulation.
yeah, very much. So yeah, that was very helpful.
Yeah, there were many Drupal cons where no matter how well intending I am with a schedule, sometimes midday I would just go take a nap. And it made a huge difference in the afternoon. Not always, but a lot of
Another
times.
another pro of having the hotel be the venue, because it just like it could be like, I'm gonna go take a nap, I'm gonna go take a quick shower, I'm just gonna go, lie down and, you know, veg for a minute. Yeah.
So how are the social events? Because I know that's another part of the marathon, the energy and all of that.
A lot of social events. Yeah. Well, good, good. There were a lot of some, for me, a lot of heart to hearts and crying, but some of them, but in a good way. Just yeah, I loved just seeing everybody and meeting new people, but also, there's a lot of people that are near and dear to my heart. I've known for a long time and yeah, just fun. There was a kind of a cool venue. It was the Pantheon party maybe. There was like mini
The
golf
rooftop.
and
Yeah.
yeah, rooftop mini golf with like arcade games, like the little race horses or whatever, like you're at a kind of like a board, like we have the
Oh,
Santa.
like a carnival sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was particularly cool. Uh, but yeah, just so many. It was really hard to, and also another thing about having uh, a lot of people would come back to the hotel and they would hang out in the bar area. So it was really hard to go upstairs to the room because I'd be like, oh, wait, there's so and so. And I'd be trying to be like, ah, I really should go to bed. So yeah, my sleep was not the best. I average, I think, 5 hours a night.
Oh, so many people talking about how much sleep they didn't get. I I actually want to take a quick pause because I noticed that we have a good number of people here now. Um, and sometimes trying to do intros at the very beginning, it's it doesn't really work all the time. I see a lot of new faces as well, and I wanted to welcome everybody to the Pacific Time Virtual Drupal User Group. This is our meetup. If you're not part of our Slack channel, we have a Slack channel on the Drupal Slack team, so please join that. We keep it pretty lightweight there. It's just here's the next meetup. Here's what we plan on talking about. There's plenty of channels for other things like neurodivergence and diversity, inclusion, stuff like that. So, uh, plenty of people to talk to about any topic that you'd like. But in this meetup format, we meet every first Wednesday, unless there's a holiday, then we'll skip a week and then we'll typically do that. I'm actually leaving for Mexico tomorrow, so the timing for this is absolutely perfect. Um, but we do this in a recorded format for two big reasons. Everything that you're doing here, you are contributing to the community. Everything you say being recorded is a way for somebody to watch it if they just don't have the affordance of being able to participate today. And that's okay. So if you can't make it next time, we're not going to think poorly of you. We'll miss you, and we'll certainly invite your input about future topics. But that's at least the cadence that we have. If you have any concerns for code of conduct, please let me or anybody else know. That's listed in the event organizers. That's the other reason why we record, for accountability. But yeah, if you want to take a minute and introduce yourself, I'll go on mute. Just let us know about yourself, and if not, then we can have a nice, very uncomfortable 6 seconds of silence if you want.
I'll just start. Kristen, California. I'm in Santa Cruz. For those who know where that is, for those that don't, it's about an hour and a half from south of San Francisco. It's a coastal town, college town. Went to school at UC Santa Cruz. My oldest son went to school to UC Santa Cruz. My husband just retired from working at UC Santa Cruz, and my youngest son is probably going to start UC Santa Cruz. So
Uh,
yeah.
banana slugs, right?
Go
Yeah, banana
slugs.
slugs, go slugs. So been in the Drupal world since 2004 when my oldest son was essentially just born, and been going strong. Did Java before that, but doesn't yeah doesn't have a community like this. So yeah, sticking around. Uh, I'll pass it off to anyone that wants to. I won't pick. So if this was a work meeting, I would pick the next person, but I won't do
Oh,
that.
no.
Though I'm sure Luke would probably say something.
Yeah, I am I'm like a compulsive extrovert, uh, which has pluses and minuses. Like I'm way more shy than you would expect, but just I'm shy in a very outgoing way. Um, and been building websites for 30 years. I'm older than I look, and And, you know, have had sort of a weird relationship with Drupal because I got into it because I was trying to get away from coding. I had been building um, sites in PHP and Cold Fusion and Perl and like a million other Java for a while, JSP sites, and like I'm not that great of a programmer. And so, I'm more the architect thing, and I would do programming because like somebody has to do it, and usually I had no one around, and I would have to do it. But I got into Drupal because under the mistaken impression that it was like a no code environment because you could do so much without doing any code. And I've been sort of fighting that for a while. Recently, you know, with the help of the AI things, with Cursor and ChatGPT and things like that, like I'm a coder again because the stuff that I couldn't do with the robots, I can actually do it. It's been kind of neat. I've been diving into coding projects because I can get them done now in an hour or two, whereas they used to take like effectively infinity. Like it would theoretically take a week or two if I could stick to it, but the ADHD is never going to allow that. Um, but now AI lets me do coding projects like within the time frame of my attention span. So that's pretty good. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Luke. Anyone else?
So hello, my name is Brandon. I'm from Brazil. So yeah, it's my first time here. So I work with Drupal for almost 4 years, and yeah, this year I have some goals where I want to contribute more with to Drupal, right? And yeah, so I I have so I'm very happy to be here. It's a pleasure to learn it with you all. So yeah, that's it for now.
I'll chime in next. Welcome from Brazil. There was actually a good size um, faction from Brazil that was there at the conference. So it makes me think maybe there's some sort of meetup group or something that you could probably find about it. So hopefully I'll see if I can find it and put you in touch with it. Um, but my name is Sarah. I'm in Central Oregon, Bend specifically, and I'm new to Drupal coming from the WordPress community, and the community, it's just so different. And that saying of come for the code, stay for the community, that has just been so true and has just been overwhelming to me. The support and just the encouragement you get. And I'm trying to just make a splash, do as much as I can, learn as much as I can. I've gotten to work on some really cool projects so far, and I'm I did a recent accomplishment I was really proud about and wanted to share with you guys because I told my wife and it was like, yay, but she didn't really understand it. So I'm like, I need to tell my people. And so I designed the site for the IXP program, and then it did all the UX, and then I've now probably about 80% of the way done on building it all out. And then I'm just going to hand it off to Carlos and he'll take it from there and do his back end security stuff and whatever mystery part that he does on the database. But I was like, yeah. So really wanted to share that I was excited to do
Awesome.
the whole journey of it.
Cool. And maybe just a quick plug for IXP because I
Oh,
don't think everybody
oh
knows.
yeah, sorry. Don't want to just use lingo someone doesn't know. So the IXP program, IXP stands for Inexperienced Drupal Developer. It's a program, an initiative that then became a Drupal Association sponsored program, and they are going to get agencies to sign on to give us IXP developers, anyone that has less than 3 months of paid Drupal experience, a shot at an internship. And it could be various lengths depending on the agency, but I mean, that's exciting. You get the mentorship, you get paid, and you get to work on something meaningful instead of just these theoretical concept ones that you're building out yourself to hone your skills. But it's so different once you get an actual real world site, and then it's like, oh, okay. So many things you didn't think of. Yeah. But that is going right along, and as soon as we finish the site, then we'll be opening it up for signups from everybody.
Fantastic.
I want to throw out, just since you brought up Carlos, Brandon, you should keep an eye on Carlos, because along the way he's constantly doing things that support the LATAM community, and constantly defending their interests in various ways. He was at the Dries Note follow-up that I was talking about, where people were talking about the projects needed to support things going forward. And people were saying, well, you need $60,000 to have a sustainable Drupal project. And Carlos was like, in lots of Latin American countries, a $3,000 project is plenty to keep food on the table. So I'll throw his link in the chat here. Just I don't know, just keep an eye on him.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anyone else new, or
I can
just say hi? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, hey, I'm Mike McCaffrey. I work for Calamuna. I've been doing Drupal for too many years, decades. Yeah, living in Portland. That's about it.
You got to tell us about your light fixture.
It's a bunch of hangers and zip ties.
That's cool.
What? That's awesome.
I needed a something in the background, so I just built a little hanging light.
Is that called a decahedron? That shape?
I think it's just an isohedron.
Okay.
I usually prefer truncated octahedrons, but those aren't as good for lamps.
Mike's also a legend in the backdrop world, but keeps that on the download these days.
I mean, I named it. That was my biggest contribution. So.
Can you explain what the difference is? I've heard both and don't know the connection.
With Backdrop?
Yeah.
Backdrop is a fork of Drupal 7. Basically, when Drupal 8 came out, believe it or not, like if you throw Composer and stuff, it might be hard for developers to get into it, and maybe for small and medium-sized businesses to use, because you suddenly require a engineering degree. So a bunch of people forked Drupal 7 and sort of continued development on it and brought stuff into core and things to make a Drupal 7, but with all the modern amenities. It's a lot more functional programming, a lot less objects. I would use it a lot more, but the one thing that Drupal, I think, Drupal 8, 9, 10 has done right is Twig. Twig is fantastic for the front end, so I do a lot of front end stuff, and Twig is just delightful to work with. So
Backdrop isn't supporting Twig?
Backdrop's still using like PHP template.
Oh, okay.
Like the old Drupal 7 version of templating. So, which is ironic, because Jen Lampton was involved with bringing Twig into new Drupal, but then she didn't feel like doing it again for Backdrop.
Okay, yeah, I was curious. So it's not on the roadmap.
I have not been to a recent Backdrop thing. I'm guessing probably not, but it's probably not their highest priority. But
there's a Backdrop Live that starts tomorrow. If anybody's interested, for 2 days, I'll throw a link in the chat.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm also working on a new version of Calamuna has a static site generator called Calistatic. No one really uses it but us, but after a bunch of crazy backend stuff that they did, I finally am working on rebuilding it. It's basically just Twig, and it's just like a 300 line Node.js program or something that just compiles a bunch of Twig into HTML files, and it's like basically as simple as you can get for a static site generator. So I'm excited to be working on that.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't played with that one, but I've played with Tome, and it's definitely not very well maintained, and I don't know. I
Well, I
found
mean,
the UX a little lacking, like trying to hook it up to Netlify or whatever. But
basically, like, if you're a Drupal developer and you're really good at, programming stuff, then you use one of these other like component libraries or static site generators, and they have their whole thing going on. They're using like Markdown and stuff, and it's like, I don't need Markdown. I can write HTML, you know. I know how to write web pages. I don't need you to interpret things into, whatever arcane series of glyphs that you need in order to make this text bold, you know. Yeah, so working on that. So it's more of an expert thing and less baked in, kind of an agnostic program.
Cool.
I'll post a link in the chat to our like test site if I can find it. Where did I put it? I'll find it.
A couple of years ago, I was hired by Apple for a contract at Apple to do an internal documentation site in Drupal. And then after I started, it turns out they didn't have PHP or MySQL or any of the things that you needed and weren't going to do it. So I ended up creating the site according to their specifications and then using a static site generator to just spit out HTML and posted that on the website they had. So that was fun.
Static has its place for sure.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Anyone else new want to introduce yourself or anybody else?
Hi, I'm Tara Anderson. I'm based out of Alaska. I've been, I've gone to like, for instance, the Seattle group sometimes, especially because they've had some virtual meetings. Because there's not really much of a community. Well, there's some people, like I don't know if any of you know, like Adam Bauer. He's been to some of the like DrupalCon events and other things. Um,
Can't say that
but
I've met
yeah,
him, but nice to have
yeah.
you. It's a
But
long
no, there,
trek
yeah,
away.
yeah.
We're
Well,
in
that's why.
Alaska.
Kenai Peninsula. So we
How
get a
far
lot of
from how far from
mild
Anchorage
weather.
would be the only way I could sort of navigate the.
Uh, well, everything's like pretty far away because of how big the state is, but it's like a 3 to 4 hour drive. Um, it's kind of definitely a day trip. That you probably won't get a ton done. You'll maybe have like half the day left to do stuff. If you just go for a day, for instance. Uh,
Well, if you go in June, you get long days, so you got plenty of time.
yeah. Yeah, it's also a better time to go because of less like winter driving conditions too. Yeah, but so I don't know if you guys know any of the like Drupal Easy people, but I did that class originally.
Hmm.
And so like Michael, so when you talked about like meetups at the last DrupalCon, Michael Anello usually has stuff going on with his people.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. I haven't been able to go to any of the ones, any of the cons yet. I would like to see if I can go to the the camp on the Pacific camp that's coming up. I think in Portland.
Yep. It's in mid-October. I think it's what, the 18th, 19th?
Yeah, I'll see if I can go or not. Definitely, it's always tricky because I wish there was more of like a direct flight, but unfortunately, it's kind of like I have to go up to Anchorage first and then fly out. But at least it's not as far as trying to go to the like any of the cons like Atlanta.
At the Hoof.
So yeah,
Next year, Chicago, which is a little bit closer, probably easier to get to.
yeah, and actually, I've gone to some of the Chicago meetings because they're not too far away from my time zone.
Yeah.
Because they did some virtual, but now they're starting to like do more in person, so I can't do as much with them.
Well, Japan's actually closer to Alaska. That's coming up in November.
Maybe more so if I was still in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was there for like around 10 years, a little bit over 10 years because I went to school there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever happen to go to Hawaii, not too much of a further to go and spend some extra time flying out from there to Japan or New Zealand. It's a lot cheaper to go there. Of course, you're already like having to pay for the Hawaii ticket too, so so kind of about the same overall probably in price, but definitely that's why a lot of people who are based out of Hawaii will actually go to Japan and New Zealand a lot because it's about as similar pricing to going to like the West Coast or depending on when they book their ticket.
Well, I'm glad that we could accommodate you. I mean, that was the fundamental reason as to why we made the group itself. It's specifically just to be a virtual thing. Right now, it's just meetups. We would love to do something like a camp, a summit, or something along those lines that's completely virtual, where you have to look at a lot of logistics for that, make sure that there's interest and whatnot, but a lot cheaper than renting a conference hall or something like that. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I
but thanks
definitely
for
be
joining.
interested in that. Yeah, thanks. You're welcome. And thanks. It's been nice meeting all of you. But yeah, I would definitely into that because, like I said, it's kind of definitely awkward not having that big of a community in Alaska. We do technically have one, but like I don't know if in a lot of the like because once after I came on in like about 3 years ago, I guess getting on about 4 now. It had already like split up. Like there used to be a little bit of an Anchorage community, but then um I guess they all got kind of frustrated without trying to organize. Maybe if they had started after COVID,
Oh
they might
yeah.
have been able to do it because there was so many opportunities to do stuff virtually after that. But yeah, I'm a part-time developer right now for Freelock in Seattle. I do because they do a lot of virtual stuff. We do like a meeting every like Friday. So yeah, and
Right
I
on.
used to work for I originally started with the Drupal because of this school based out of where I work did it. Alaska Vocational Technical Education Center.
You may also want to
Uh,
take a look at the Stanford Web Camp. That does have an online component to it as well.
yeah, I did attend at least 1 year. It was interesting. There was some stuff that was like more relevant to like if you worked in education. But yeah, there were some definitely that were useful for everyone. But anyway, thanks. I'll try to come to more meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for joining. Anybody
Welcome.
else want to do some intros if you're new or just want to say hi?
So I'll say hi. I'm Eric, and I'm on kid duty tonight, so I'm probably going to drop off unexpectedly at some point because it's a bath night. And there's lots of noise happening because of that. And my wife is doing an art show Friday. That's why I'm on kid duty. She needs to focus on all that. But
That's cool.
yeah, Atlanta was a lot of fun, and WebCamp is coming up, all virtual. Check it out. Yeah,
I'll try to stay dry, Eric.
yeah.
I just submitted my sessions today for that.
All right, yay!
I was like,
How long are sessions open for that? I was just thinking.
oh, the
Well,
12th.
yeah.
What did they say?
Oh,
Okay,
hello.
Hi.
There you go.
The family keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, she
Actually,
steals all my stickers.
I meant to ask about that. At DrupalCon, how were the family accommodations? Because we really tried to focus a lot on improving that, and I'm just wondering how was the outcome? I heard mixed things.
Yeah, there were a lot of actually a lot of kids there. I was surprised. I met one man that his kid and wife were hiding in the hotel because he reached out to the DA and they said that he couldn't have the kids there. And I was like, you know what? Just bring them down, ask for forgiveness because they because they shouldn't have to hide in a hotel while you're down doing this stuff. So I met them the next day. They're walking around, but I thought it was pretty good. I think there needs to be a little more visibility if we get on it a little earlier,
Yeah.
talk to people a little earlier. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about, because it can't be like a daycare, if some kids act up, they need to know that they need to remove the kids, and and the insurance stuff, there's a lot of things to
Yeah.
but yeah.
It was very cute watching Mike Schnitzel, for those who know Mike, Michael, he had his twins crawling around, and then the Evolving Web owners, Suzanne, and I'm spacing on her husband. Anyway,
Alex.
thank you.
Alex, yeah, Alex.
And Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia, she's so cute.
Oh
Anyway,
my
they were
God.
just on a tunnel, and they're like one of those flexible tunnels, and you're just like watching them. Oh, they were
My
having
day was
fun.
waving at you.
It's super cute. So I'm all for having the kiddos around, but
Yeah,
not everybody is.
next week, me and Quasi are talking to, I don't know if anybody knows Quasi, I know Chad does. We're talking to Gabor about like the past Drupal stuff and Drupal camps and stuff. So we'll see. Trying to get an early start on it. So
Well, if we can have a petting zoo, we can have families.
Petting zoo.
Yeah, there were
Yes,
there were
so-
bunnies. I pet some bunnies. It was very nice.
I wonder if there's a market need, if you will, for sort of a lower budget kind of a Drupal thing, because they tend to be in big cities with expensive hotels and complicated accommodations. I wonder if it could be set somewhere where there's housing options for less than $100 a night, or
Hmm.
food and childcare and things.
I've heard of mountain camp. I don't know. They like literally throw tents down and stuff, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, but
camping camp.
I haven't been. I think it's in Europe, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, looks cool.
I know with Michael and Elo's group that he keeps on having a continuous kind of Slack and meeting that his alumni can attend. They often talk about trying to like say, "Hey, I'm going to this camp or con. Would you guys like to like share a house or something?" Maybe for any of the cons or camps, we can always like have a little bit of group, like if one of people talk about like sharing Airbnb or some like lower kind of group rate situation. Especially because I've been often disappointed with the options for getting discounts that are often offered a lot of the Drupal cons. Like I find that they're a little bit like they offer a discount for like the nearby location, but it's probably not that much different than if you like went somewhere else further from the con, for instance. And one thought I had with the kids, kids and probably like emotional support pets is that definitely I think that, we could, if you have like a friend or a partner that can watch the kid or pet when you're like not able to be with them, and as well as like some place where there's like a nursing room or something. I think that shouldn't be that big a deal to but definitely if you need more daycare, that should be like maybe an extra fee or something.
Yeah.
Tara, maybe you've actually unearthed the possibility. Maybe rather than have a camp with this, maybe it's enough to get like an Airbnb thing where if you could find like a big house nearby, and it'd be like, okay, low budget Drupalers, here's like a pop-up hostel with a shared kitchen and somebody will take care of the kids.
Yeah. I did that at GovCon I did an Airbnb because they ran out of the cheap, I mean, they were expensive, but the cheap hotel rooms, they ran out. So I was like, okay, we'll just live
And
a
it's
little,
it's
be a little
I was
further.
just gonna say I like the daycare idea. It's never too early to start the developer pipeline. We need to youthen up our community.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. She has more Drupal stickers than I do because she steals them all from me.
Yeah.
You just remind me, recently I came across some advertising on Facebook and then try to not sold to like give to rent some school in province near BC. I forgot the province, but yeah, was quite surprised. It's like a one level school. And they try to rent it in a full school or but by the part, and I just thought maybe it's would be good for us.
What is that, Kristen?
It's the Dries Lego guy.
Oh, I forgot to get one.
Yeah, I have two, but I left one in the bag. Collector's item, maybe someday.
Dries stole your Lego presentation. You should get more than that.
Oh yeah, I got this from Barcelona, but yeah, funny story about, so I don't know who hasn't seen the Dries note, but he does some Lego stuff about a little bit about the history of Lego and about the business, whatever.
Sounded
But
awfully familiar.
yeah, but what was funny was since I'm part of the Starshot Advisory Council, he sent me that part. He was practicing that section, and so he recorded himself and he sent it to me. And so I started watching it, and I was like, "Wait a minute here." And then my husband walked by, and he's like, "Did Dries steal your session?" And I was like, I don't know." And then a little bit later, he's like, "Oh, and Kristen, went and did this at Bad Campus." So I was like, "All right, fine, all right, get more people looking at that." But yeah, my husband was not super happy. It was funny though.
I know that Michael Anello and also James, I'm trying to remember his last name, but he's one of the alumni that's been part of the Drupal EZ group, who's based out of I think Ireland. They're big into Legos too. Michael Anello actually sent me. He decided to do these like little like gotcha kind of Lego packs of like Muppets. And so he sent me one because he got an extra one that was I remember the guy the guy that kind of looks like a dog who plays the piano as part of the Muppet Show.
Fozzie?
Maybe.
I
Yeah,
think
I
Maybe
think so.
Fuzzy Bear.
it's
Yeah.
Rolf.
Fozzie, yeah, Fozzie.
Rolf.
Fozzie. Wait, what?
Isn't it Rolf, the dog that plays the piano?
That'd have been rough.
Yes, Fozzie's a stand-up comedian.
Maybe.
Rolf is a piano.
That's right.
They're
I
both.
love that people know this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I think once again we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
Back We were born back before Sesame Street became a for-profit disaster.
Yeah. I guess they brought the Muppet Show back, but I haven't watched any of the episodes yet. Or at least for a little while it was they tried to bring it back. I think I liked best I did see the band OK Go did a music video with some of the Muppets. That at least I watched. It's kind of entertaining. Yeah. But Michael Anello though, he is so into like pop culture from like the like 90s and 80s. So he reminded me of stuff that even if I wasn't that well versed in it because I was pretty young. I'm born like 1985.
Imagine he'd probably know a lot more about the Golden Girls episodes than most people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Michael Anello might put a restraining order on me because I was riffing on I hate Michael Anello thing for a little bit until took that joke far enough. My routine was that he does so much. He's like posts a zillion things, and he's in this project and that project that he makes the rest of us look lazy and like unaccomplished. Like, you know, compared to Mike Anello, what do the rest of us have? You know, what chance do we have?
Yeah, I don't know where he gets all this like energy to do all these things. And he's also like going from country to country too. Like back and forth to like Belgium, I think, to Florida. He does goes to every camp he can, especially if you get him a discounted ticket.
That's how it works. That's how you get around too. But I mean, it's within his business model. He's an educator and an advocate for Drupal. So if he's not getting around, he's not working.
They're all tax write-offs.
Oh, indeed, indeed. I'm actually getting a nice tax refund this year. So, anybody else want to give an intro before we kind of move back into the talking about DrupalCon and the Drupal community?
I will, because I joined late.
Yeah, go for it.
Who already introduced, and this is my first time in this group. So, hi, I'm Heather Wozniak. I live up near Seattle, and I help organize the Seattle Drupal users group and the Pacific Northwest Drupal Summit, which is going to be October 18th to 19th at McMenamin's Edgefield in Oregon. If you haven't heard, it's going to be super fun. And Chad has been helping with that, and Sarah and Eric. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I went to DrupalCon last week. It was super fun. Learned a lot, had fun. So I was like, yeah, I'll come and talk to people about it. It was great.
Well, thanks for joining. We're kind of doing a very loose meetup today, which, people coming and going, totally fine. Already heard a little bit about what's been going on with DrupalCon. Definitely want to hear more because I think all of us invest differently in these community events. Just attending is fine too. I mean, just having a presence or having even an interest is good. But I think it's important to hear feedback from folks who do attend or who are interested to see how we can make improvements and make it more inviting and more inclusive. I know I haven't introduced myself to anybody new. I'm Chad Hester. I started this group with a few folks from the Pacific Northwest area, and I actually moved from Baltimore. We had a really nice group out there for the longest time, and then it kind of fizzled out, which happens on occasion. And it dawned on me a while back that I think the pandemic was a great force function for quite a number of reasons in terms of virtual meetups and whatnot. We had a DrupalCon that was virtual, one. And, regardless of feelings or opinions about virtual conferences, I think a virtual meetup is still something that is very accommodating for folks. You don't have to commute. You don't have to drink alcohol if you don't want to. It's family friendly, and it's recorded, which I think is an affordance that you don't always get in the in-person meetups. But more importantly, there are a lot of people who are very remote, not near cities, not near large populations. So I think it's also very important to try to offer that. And anybody can attend these. You don't have to be in the Pacific time. Um, since moving from Baltimore, I moved to British Columbia, and well, it's absolutely gorgeous here. I don't need to explain that to anybody that's familiar. Um, Canadian Thanksgiving is before American Thanksgiving, by the way. I see this in the chat. And it's not as centered on turkey and cranberry sauce and things like that. It's, you can have a ham or whatnot. So it's kind of like a Christmas dinner a lot of times.
Turkey's dry.
It certainly can be. I have seen my fair share of extreme turkey Thanksgivings. We smoked a turkey one year. It took us 12 hours. We ate it around 2 in the morning because it just took so freaking long. But it was the most delicious turkey we've ever had.
It's another delicious, yeah, another tasty.
Very good. We ended up having to finish it in the oven, but it was very smoky. Um, so yeah, I think just to bring it back to the Drupal community side of things, though, I think it's important for us to just keep our fingers on the pulse as to what keeps our community healthy and thriving. DrupalCon is certainly no exception to that. And I do want to continue talking a little bit about DrupalCon and hearing people's thoughts about that. One thing that I think is at least fair to bring up right now, without getting political, is safety. A lot of folks are traveling into the United States from outside of the United States, and I'm one of those folks that I can get in because I'm a U.S. citizen, and I don't expect to be messed with. But I have long hair, I look like a hippie. Who knows? And I don't want to say that to drum up fear, but I'd rather switch that around and say anyone travel into the United States from outside of the United States for DrupalCon, have anything to say about your experience going through borders and things like that. How was it for you? Was it uneventful? Did you have any stress going through? What was your experience?
No, first of all, it's difficult to take USA visa. First of all, yeah, it's not simple. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously I didn't travel from outside of the country, but I know in the DrupalCon North American chat there were people who had reservations of even attending, and there were definitely conversations about people who are like, maybe I should sell my ticket, maybe I shouldn't go through the risk of, being stopped at the border or worse. So yeah, I can't even imagine having to worry about that. That's just, yeah, it's pretty rough.
I was asking everybody at DrupalCon that came from out of the States, and there were like mixed responses. Some people said that it took them a long time. Some people said they went right through. I was domestic and I got flagged both times, going for it and going home for having too many coins the first time, and then coming back, they thought I had something sharp, and it turns out it was my laptop charger or something. I don't know, but so that was kind of weird. But there was a lot of talk in the diversity inclusion channel building up to DrupalCon about people that just weren't going to go because they were afraid of what might happen. Also, like domestic travel with trans people and things, they just decided they're not going to do it. So.
I talked to a few people who were interested in trying to organize like a bit larger scale event in Canada, right? So not a full DrupalCon, and those were already planned a couple of years out, but like she suggested like a Drupal Dev Days or something,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. It's a great idea, but anyone who's worked on event organizing, like that takes also a lot of work to put together. So I was trying to give them some advice about finding a venue, finding an event lead who's going to be responsible, finding a venue, talking to people. So I don't know if you hear about that and you're interested in contribute, like maybe we could get some momentum behind that and have an event in Canada instead of in US.
I think Evolve Drupal is something that kind of, well, it moves around quite a bit, but I think the reason I'm bringing them up is Evolving Web plans a lot of events. So perhaps they have some experience specifically in the Canadian region, different venues to consider, different contacts already that might help speed things up and, you know, from experience, avoid certain things as well. I know Calamoon has done quite a few things as well. ImageX has done quite a few things. So maybe perhaps pulling together some of these agencies to see if there could be a group effort between them. But I like that idea. I think we could probably set up a few intelligent event planning type folks to do that.
Yeah, I think Evolving Web has a big experience because I see they every 2 weeks they have some kind event in Toronto, yeah, and we work with them. They invite to us to attend on this event, but yeah, we don't have possibility.
See, they have one coming up in Vancouver soon that I might have to try to go to. It's all timing though. Like I think there's a lot happening all around fall. I think theirs is in September, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have our Pacific Northwest Drupal Summit in October. And big fingers crossed if I can go to Japan. That'd be nice. But yeah, the travel thing I don't think is something that's going to tone down. I want to maintain a level of sensitivity to different people's experiences for that. And continue to talk about accommodations like this. What can help folks feel comfortable in our Drupal community, participating in in-person events where possible. So let's keep beating this drum together. Aside from travel, were there other things at DrupalCon that you liked in Atlanta, things that you didn't like? Anything that's noteworthy for folks here?
I have one positive in the travel. I liked it being so accessible from the train, being able to just get that MARTA right in the airport and then be like a block and a half away from the main event venue. That was great. Save the $50 cab ride and just 350 and you're there. That was great.
That's isn't Atlanta also one of the biggest airports?
Yeah.
It was huge. The
It's
train in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was lots of trains. That's right. There was the airport or the plane train. Is that what it was called?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the MARTA was great too. And like I had extra time on the last day, Friday, and I took it north a few stops and I was able to explore Midtown and Piedmont Park and the botanical gardens, like a bunch of cool stuff. And I was like, I guess I wouldn't have time. It's like, this is the train's so cool. Like I could have, there's so many things, parts of Atlanta that might be more accessible than I realized. So that was really nice.
When were you at the botanical gardens? Because we were there on Friday too. We went in the morning.
Yeah, I was there, I don't know, kind of mid-morning.
Okay. Yeah, we
I,
were
I had
probably
lunch there. I don't think I saw you wandering around. I saw a couple other women that I recognized.
okay. Yeah, there was three of us there. That was really nice botanical garden. Highly recommended. Also ended up at the next Saturday for that Saturday person I was with who's from the Netherlands. She's like, "Oh, we should go to this area called Little Five Points." And I was like, "Sure, I'll go anywhere, whatever, it's fine." But it was actually really cool. It felt so I'm in Santa Cruz, and like the motto here is keep Santa Cruz weird. I think it might also be Portland has the same thing. I'm not sure, but
In
uh,
Austin.
Austin, yeah. So I was like, oh, I feel like I'm home because it was just very just yeah. Just like vintage clothes and funky crystals and just like I don't know, it was a really good vibe. And then they had a little street fair thing with a bunch of vendors outside with tables that had all a bunch of stuff and they had a bunch of punk bands playing. And I was like, this is so awesome. And yeah, just totally ran. And it was not something I was expecting to see in Atlanta, but yeah, so that was just pretty cool. Yeah, went to the record store, looked at records.
How's the game night?
Mm.
Did anybody go to that?
I went to the diversity one, if that's,
Yeah, that one.
yeah, it was at, um, I don't remember the name, but it had these classic pinball machines, and then they had all these board games I had never even heard of, and some card games, and then they had the like standalone type of video games where it would have like one or two in it. It was a blast, and everyone was just, they were really getting into the pinball. And there was also foosball, and it, some of them were intense on it. And I was like, whoa. But yeah, everybody had a blast, and they had some like Asian fusion type of food there that was gluten-free, dairy-free, all these allergens free, and it was just like, yes, I can eat. It was great. Yeah.
Well, even better for
Hmm.
diversity, equity, and inclusion then.
Hmm.
That's good to hear. We when we were doing some of the planning for DrupalCon, one of the things came up was, making families feel more welcome, and I'm glad to hear that there's been some progress there, and it sounds like there's yet more to be had. But the other was having social events that weren't centered around alcohol, because there are people who don't want to drink, don't want to be around drinking, or don't want to be vulnerable because of drinking. And I think that's something that's really important in a community, is creating those sort of safe spaces. I'd like to see more. Personally, I like imbibing sometimes, but not all the time, especially if I have, a professional presence to have, which is a lot of times what DrupalCon can be for people. So I think just being inclusive for folks is really important. Were there any other events that were non-alcohol related that got put together, or was it really just that one?
The other two parties had a lot to do besides drinking. One was at
That's good.
it was a bar that had darts, so we had a lot of fun
Perfect.
with darts, and they had great food there. They did have free drinks as well. The Aquia party and the Pantheon party too. It was like this rooftop carnival thing. So like I played skee ball. I got the high score among my group.
Well, yeah, it was
And
fun.
there was a slide, there was other games and rides. So the food there was not as good. It was like mini corn dogs and mini pretzels.
Thing. It's like
But
bar
but it was
fare.
fun. Like yeah, there was stuff to do even if you weren't drinking.
That's good. That's good. Well, did anybody do anything with the contributions? I know, Kristen, you said that you helped mentor and whatnot. Did anybody else go to contribution days or do anything there?
I did.
Yeah. What'd you work on?
I worked on some stuff for the community events section of Drupal.org. So there's an issue queue with a bunch of things that we want to do there. I was able to work on a couple of them and move them forward. And then also I'm got kind of roped in, asked to maybe work on theming the events on the new Drupal.org, right? Because they want to migrate everything to the new site, Drupal 10. And they have so much to do. So they're like, yeah, we all these cool fancy features you guys want, we're probably not going to do that on the Drupal 7 site. So if you can expedite the migration to Drupal 10, then it will open the door to lots of things. So I'm going to try to work on that if I can.
Yeah, I know there's an issue. Every time I make an event, it looks great when I'm logged in, but the time zone's all messed up when I'm not. So hopefully that gets fixed.
That's one of the ones that we talked about quite a bit, and he just felt like it's too, there's like a patch and a database update and like it's super complicated. It's like if we just migrate it, we can do better things with the dates there. And so let's try to get it migrated.
Even
You know?
like the event timing, just throw some JavaScript up there, like with a little selector for choose your time zone or something. Like it doesn't have to be a backend thing. Like it could be, the site could just display the time in whatever time zone and have a little because like
You want to send me a JavaScript snippet that we could put on every page? I could try
Sure.
at it. But because
Uh,
it's like it stores it. The problem was like it stores it in the database in one time zone, and then when it fetches it, it transforms it, and like I don't know. It's
Yeah, I
hard.
mean, like if I'm assuming all the pages are in a CDN for anonymous users, so it's like they're anonymous users. You don't know what time zone they're in, or if they're using a VPN or what. Like you can't auto detect people's time zones when you're building the page. So,
But
Yeah.
the but the event page itself, the node, you specify the time zone that the event occurs in.
yeah.
So we
Oh,
can
so
we
there
could
should be a default for,
yeah, we
okay.
could honor that for anonymous.
I mean, yeah.
But to your point, I think the solution could be good if we weren't already trying to move to D10. I think the idea of just washing all the issues all at once with a new D10, since let's eat our own dog food. D7 is not maintained anymore.
Should move it to backdrop, obviously.
Yeah, let's do that with D.O. That's a good show.
I mean, if we can't, that's the thing. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous that Drupal itself can't like migrate out of Drupal 7. Like, yeah, Drupal 7 end of life, except for our website. We're gonna maintain that.
I
It's just a tad hypocritical.
I learned. Do you know how many nodes there are on Drupal.org?
Probably a few.
What would you
Uh,
guess?
I'm gonna guess the jelly beans are over 10 million.
It's not that high.
Not that high.
I
I was
think
gonna
it's
say
over.
3 million or something. I don't know.
It's around 2 million.
Okay.
But
Oh, wow.
like 1.7 of those are like the issues, like issue tracking or contribution, like issue stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of stuff to migrate.
Actually, that makes sense because when you make a new issue, it starts with a one. So yeah, I should have been able to get that.
It's, I don't know. It seems kind of silly to have everything be on the same website, though. Like I would normally recommend to a client to break it up, and we
Well,
already
it's
have the
part of
sing
GitLab.
we already have the single sign-on solution. Like so that we're working. That seems to be working. So no need for it all to be one website.
Yeah, the issues are gonna get to GitLab. It's just I think they're gonna test it out with a few projects soon, like this month or next month, and see how it goes, and then roll it out to like opt in and then cut over.
That is a long migration.
Yeah, multi-year.
Few samples. We don't need things from 15 years ago, do we?
Mm.
Let's hope not.
I mean, there's a couple issues that have been open, maybe not 15, but I have definitely run across a couple 10, 11-year-old tickets recently that are still open and people are still arguing about the best way to deal with them. So, not yeah.
Closed will not fix.
No, they're gonna fix it eventually. It's just there's plenty of pull requests and merge requests. They just, haven't, pulled the trigger on it yet.
Who's ever had the experience, and this would be for the old timers, but I haven't had this in a while, but it used to be that I was like, I'm having this problem, this bug, I need to work around this thing, and then Google whatever, and I'm like, oh, good, there's an answer, and I'll be like, oh, that was me 4 years ago that answered how to fix it, and I'd forgotten, like, oh, I used to do that a lot. I'd be like, oh,
I've
yeah,
I've definitely done that quite a few times.
it's kind of a fun feeling.
That sounds like a
Sometimes
senior
that's even
moment.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
the senior moment. Yeah.
That sounds like a senior moment.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh yeah, I very frequently will open a text file where I keep bash notes, just shell scripts, where it's like, how do I do that one specific thing that I only need to do every couple of years?
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and
For sure.
usually I'll forget that I even solved a specific problem, but then I'm like, maybe I did. I'll crack that open, and sure enough.
You never know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a Slack channel in Kalamuna, like called Key Issues, and where people can post stuff like that, and theoretically just search the Slack channel for the common things we're always constantly remembering how to do.
Slack is quite the archive of knowledge, and it's so disorganized.
Mm.
Yep.
So we're getting close to 8. Pacific relative to anyone that's not. I did want to throw something open for the group as well. We're trying to use this group as a way to improve Drupal and our community. Do you have any ideas for what you might want to talk about in the next meetup? Anything at all?
I don't know. Go for it.
So I thought about we were talking about neurodiversity and also issues with inclusion earlier in this meeting. And so I was thinking about like how maybe we should think as a Drupal community, how can we make support those who are having issues with all the DEIA issues in both the U.S. government as well as private companies, and like if for instance like inquire into like are people having issues with hiring that they think are discriminatory, or what other things can we do to help that group of people. I'm included in that. So far, I was actually having issues with getting more full-time work for a while. So I worked for part-time for Freelock, but I was trying to get more work because we were having some issues with getting enough projects through Freelock to offer enough work opportunities for all of us. But it was always it wasn't, I would look into LinkedIn, different LinkedIn chat things going on, and it was always kind of unclear if I was at all affected by any of that. But I finally got some extra work this summer that wasn't part of Drupal or any kind of tech. It's just something that happened to come up with Alaska has a lot of more employment in the summer in general. So it'll be interesting for me to see, for instance, how different private companies are dealing with all those issues. But it would be interesting to inquire to people how in general can we help more people in Drupal with those issues, as well as are people having any issues with discrimination themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We have a few people in our community that know a lot about that topic. There's Faye Lauren, who manages a lot of our DEI stuff. She's currently a Drupal Association board member, and her term goes up at the end of this year, if I recall correctly. But she has a lot of thoughts in the DEI and neurodiversity space. There's also Matthew Saunders, who we talked about his presentation earlier. I think he's in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. So it might be within his time zone. So we could talk to him potentially about having him on. There's also Nora. She's in the Chicago area, but she also talks a lot about hiring and fractional work and things of that nature. So she may have some insights from that perspective. So yeah, I just took a couple notes in our notes doc about that as a possible topic. And any of these topic ideas, if it doesn't work out for the next meetup, I'll keep them in the queue because these are good ideas. So thanks, Tara. That's a good idea.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Also, I would include
Yes.
I know Amy June, who does a lot of
Oh,
with
yeah.
accessibility in regards to not necessarily specifically with developers, but more so just as far as users of the any websites that are developed
Mhm.
using Drupal.
And I think she's West Coast if I recall correctly. So
Yeah, she's in Oakland now,
right
California.
on. We could see if she's available. Any other topic ideas for the next meetup?
Maybe search some search around, for example, what kind search engine people using for the search artificial intelligence. I mean, extend search using artificial intelligence. Yeah, some kind, for example, Solar, Elasticsearch, Kibana, something like this.
Okay. I know the latest term, it used to be AIO, like AI optimization, but it's kind of shifted over to AEO, um, as the acronym of choice when it comes to helping AI and other search engines. I only learned that because of Andrew from Calamuna bringing it up when we were on a sales thing. Kind of finger on the pulse with those things.
If you just make your site accessible, the AI should have no trouble with it. Like, they don't just semantics, semantic markup, people.
Structured content. I mean, I
Yeah,
just
I mean
don't put it
it's
all in a body field.
No Gutenberg.
oh,
I was thinking that if people want to know how they, maybe contribute to all of this fun stuff that's going on with Drupal CMS, Experience Builder, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, there's a lot going on. And if people have time, I know, people don't always have time. But if they have the time and they're not sure, you know, where to get started or what things they might be able to help with or whatever, then happy to talk about that.
Along the same lines, I'm wondering, is there anything that the Drupal community can do to help out with getting this marketplace thing going? Is this an open thing to the public yet, or is it still kind of behind closed doors?
They're going to be having surveys and I'm not sure I want to use the word town hall, but they're going to be having, there's a little bit of a negative association with town halls right now in the US. So, but some sort of meetings to solicit feedback. And I don't think any of those have been booked yet. But if I see any fly by, I can try to remember to put it in our channel. But yeah, the point is to try to make sure that the community is involved and are being heard and, making sure that people are on board. I mean, for those of us that were in the mega BOF, for that, it was interesting because they were definitely expecting more pushback than they got. I think people are pretty open to the idea in general. It's just a matter of making sure we put the safeguards on there and, who's allowed to be in the marketplace and how are they getting vetted and how's the quality getting checked and, all that fun stuff. And, not having someone was saying something wasteland, theme wasteland or whatever. Okay,
Perfect.
fair enough. So yeah,
I mean,
And also how to pay for those to be dedicated to maintain it and to administer it, police it, manage it.
yeah, this
They're
is
just like, it's not in our budget. We're gonna have to get that from somewhere.
yep.
yeah, there's definitely money involved, and if money is being
Creative
paid,
financing. Yeah.
if money's being paid, there could just be a fee that's collected with each transaction, sort of thing, to maintain the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Um, well, the reason I bring that one up specifically is because there's money involved, and that money could really go a long way for developers who have the bandwidth. I don't want to draw attention away from things like Drupal CMS and Experience Builder and the development there. But if somebody's torn between, well, I don't have the time, I got to go work a job, or I can do this thing that I love with Drupal and make some money doing it, I think there's still a prospect there to be explored. But if it's too early to talk about it,
Yeah, so the site templates, they still haven't really figured out the architecture and like where things are going to live and all that. So I think if you're hoping to do a site template that will be in the marketplace, then I encourage you. So just to be clear, the templates are going to be, some number of recipes that are enabling configuring modules. It'll have a experience builder theme. So you should at least know how to, you know, work with experience builder, which isn't done yet, but it's done enough that you can build that right now. If you're doing like single directory components. And then the rest of it would be default content. So the default content module, you could play with that. You know, you can export the content out, and then you can get it in with a recipe. So that's something that I did for the Starshot demo design system, which was part of the demo that was in the Dries note, and then for Lori's session on Experience Builder. So yeah, if people are interested in possibly making a site template, kind of did that for the demo design system.
Yeah, it would be interesting, definitely. Especially, for example, how we can switch from features to recipes. It would be
Yeah.
so invaluable knowledge.
But that, wow, okay. I mean, hearing that makes me less excited about it because now I'm imagining how many people are just gonna like write a bunch of recipes and throw it up and just like, oh, it's a website to this. It's like we've spent so much time building all these modules and then someone wants to get paid for just installing them. Like, you know, I mean, that's what we do also as our jobs, but it just seems weird that I imagine there's gonna be someone just cranking out 10,000 variations on this stuff to just like get some cash for.
That's why the governance process of who can actually get into the marketplace is going to be such a key thing. Like, we don't want that. We do not want someone just cranking out 10,000 AI generated site templates and then throwing them up there.
And it was my understanding there has to be a definitive design system with it, whether you're bringing in Storybook or something, Figma, whatever, and have that as a component with everything else, because they're really buying that whole system, not just this is what I recommend to use with it, and here's a very basic theme.
Yeah, as a backend developer, I can tell you I love the ability to buy a well-vetted theme as opposed to have to do all that front-end dev myself. So there's a value there.
Then you have the issue of only front-end developers get paid. All the back-end developers don't.
Right. So that is another part of the discussion. The market. I think, Mike, you need to be part of the marketplace discussions.
Well, we got to talk.
There's so many things I could criticize. I mean, is that really where my abilities are really needed?
Yeah. So the idea that the DA is going to get some chunk of money, and could they use some of that to go back to maybe the modules that are supporting, so they are thinking about all those things, like how it plays out. I don't know. We'll see. But at least people are all drumming the same drum. In fact, when I heard about the marketplace and was sworn to secrecy because they wanted to do the reveal at Atlanta, that's exactly what I said to feedback to Dries, because he was like, oh, do people have feedback? And I was like, okay, the site template people are going to just glue some stuff together and then they're going to get the money. And then what about the module maintainers? Like, they're getting, they're making money off of the backs of the module maintainers, and that's not cool. And he's like, yeah, I know, that's on the list. Like, we got to sort that out.
Another big piece of it is to figure out how support and hosting will work, because I think the idea might be someone buys the template, but they need to put the site somewhere, and they're going to need someone to keep it up to date, and they're going to want to customize and extend it so it could, convert into a subscription or some agreement with whoever develops the template. Could be an individual contractor, could be a company. Like, that whole piece needs to be worked out too. I feel like they've given themselves a long timeline to think through all this stuff, because Experience Builder doesn't even come out until like October. And Dries just did a blog post. I think he said like by Vienna was when they were going to have like an update. So that's a pretty far way away. So I think they do want to hear a lot of feedback from the community and look into legal and do a lot of work to try to do it right.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds like a good topic when we're ready.
Yeah.
But maybe for another meetup coming soon after we get some traction, some maturity and whatnot. Kristen, do you know where we can track that as a topic in the community?
Yeah, there are two Slack channels. There's a marketplace channel, and then there's a site templates channel. So they're going to do site templates no matter what. So if you're just interested in making them just for, for whatever reason, then that one's a good channel. But the marketplace, the more heated discussions are going on in the marketplace channel. I think it's like Drupal CMS Marketplace, Drupal CMS templates or something.
Okay. Well, I think that gives us something to possibly talk about this summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
One thing I thought we could talk about related to that, sorry, I kind of interrupted you.
Go for it.
Is definitely people's experience. Like, have they used any recipes people have put out, and what was their experience trying to apply them? Like, did they feel like they need more instructions to get them working? That kind of thing.
Yeah, recipes seems to be the hot item right now that's getting a lot of traction, and it's already got some maturity behind it. But to your point, it's okay. Does everybody know how to use this
Yeah.
and use it the Drupal way? Is that what we're supposed to say?
Yeah,
Recipes might be the subject for our next CDUG meetup.
Okay.
That is to talk to Rick and see if he's going to do it, but that was one thing he proposed.
Okay. I'll put it on our list.
Yeah.
And if anyone needs any speakers, I might ask my boss come like Friday if especially if you guys are interested in this. So my boss is John Freelock, and he just did a talk at DrupalCon about Nix, which is kind of an alternative to using DDEV and what was the other thing?
Lando.
Land of
No,
love, of lock.
well, maybe DDEV, but also the um, Docker. That is it. What it was.
Oh,
For a while, I was thinking, okay, I know it's the symbol is like a boat.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So if you guys are interested in learning about that, I could ask him if he would like to maybe do another like further discussion on it.
Yeah. Sorry. I want to take a note of it. What is it called again?
Nix. It's like NIX.
Okay.
Also, I just thought I'd note before I forgot. One thing that I would make a suggestion with any of the future cons and camps is definitely I appreciated, especially with the travel issues, was when there was like a hybrid option for any of the talks or feather events. More so that to the talks, I was really appreciated when mid camp and also Colorado camp both had hybrid kind of options where people could come on virtually and talk. Try and remember the program that Colorado camp used to have people connect. I'll have to kind of jog my memory on that. But it was like this website that allowed people to both chat and watch simultaneous videos of the sessions,
Yeah.
live streaming.
If you find it out, I thought session.
you mute?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Am I
Sorry.
mute?
That was me.
Oh,
Yeah. I thought that Session Eyes could do that, but I couldn't really remember.
I think it was something that started with a P, but I'll try to look into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but MidCamp did something different. They had basically they had people like connect with Zoom, I think.
Okay.
Zoom or Meetup, Zoom or like Google Meet or something like that. But either way, it worked pretty good, especially because there was actually people for MidCamp that decided to not to host a session, but actually not ever go to the actual like in-person camp.
Mhm.
I think also DrupalCon had a virtual option. Sorry, not the North America, but the international Europe, the EuropeCon.
Okay.
I'm not sure about this year, but last year I think it did.
Hmm.
I don't know if anyone tried that out because I didn't because I couldn't. I was still trying to work with my employer and see if I could get it paid for through my employer. But then because there was such short notice, they were like, no. So I didn't try it out. But it'd be interesting to find out if there's anyone who did do that virtual option.
Yeah, there was one in 2020 when Minneapolis got canceled uh, at the beginning of the pandemic. Um, I thought that they used Sessionize, but it could have been something else. It was a good format in my personal opinion, but I think people had mixed opinions about that. I think the one concern for a lot of event planners is a lot of people say they'll go, but then they just don't go, or they don't give sessions the same level of attention that they would in person. But honestly, I think getting a little bit more feedback from a wider audience, not just the audience of people who would go in person to DrupalCon, but folks who that might be a little less accessible. I'd like to do a little bit of research with the community to see what we can drum up, to see if there is actually genuine interest in that and what that format looks like.
Yeah, especially if it continues to be a travel concern coming to like the US, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, we are by nature web people. So I've always thought that doing something online, as much as online fatigue is a very real thing, so something that's tasteful. I think these meetups are enjoyable for what they are, but I think having a broader audience with sessions and stuff like that, there's I see potential there. Um, but I guess stay tuned for the space. I'll try to talk to a few other event planners and see what their lessons are from having tried to do similar things. Nora with MidCamp, for example, I'll see what her thoughts are, and a few of the other folks. So we got a few more minutes. Anybody have some parting thoughts before we, I don't know, go do whatever we're going to do in our daily lives?
Dinner. I hear
Yeah.
dinner being made.
Right on, right on. I just had some turkey soup just before this.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
bummed about the timing of the Pacific one because where is that one going to be based? It's in
uh,
Portland.
Portland.
Just outside of Portland. Troutdale.
Okay. Yeah, because my son and his girlfriend are moving up to Seattle this summer. Um, so I'll probably be going more up there than I have in the past. So yeah, just drive through. It's a long drive, but it's doable.
Yeah. Well,
Next year, maybe.
mid October is when we're doing this one, and then the next one, in theory, no idea what's happening in the world, but in theory, should be in Vancouver. I think is that right, Heather?
Yeah, as long as we can find a couple people in Vancouver to lead it up.
Is it normally in October?
Um, yeah, most frequently. It has been a few other times on occasion. I have to look at we put the dates on the history page on our site. Like it's been October most often, but like, it was like in March once or twice. And we considered September this year too, like just depends a little bit.
Yeah, because Bad Camp also is often in October, and now that's restarted
Yeah.
as of last year, so that could be a little challenging for me anyway. Oh well, we'll see. Hopefully one of these years I get up there.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is all these camps are coming back, and so
Yeah,
we actually do have conflicts and choices and stuff. So
a good problem to have. Yeah, exactly.
Ready? Wow, that's a big old post there, Sarah. That's good.
yeah.
Great. Well, look forward to seeing everybody next time if you can make it. The next one is on May 7th,
mhm.
6 to 8 Pacific time. We'll talk in the Slack channel about which topic we want to do, and we can certainly vote there if you want to see one for the next time. And if you can't make it, every first Wednesday. We'll try to keep these going. And thank you very much, everybody, for attending today. Don't forget to share your Drupal.org username with me. I'll try to give you credit within the next 24 hours, but if not, I will be in Mexico for 2 weeks. So it might be a little bit, but I'll at least try to get this recording up after it converts. So that way, anybody that hasn't the ability to attend, or if you want to watch the recording, you can.
You
So
should
thank you.
bring some sense from Mexico to us.
I travel super light. I don't ever check a bag. But I'll bring some tequila back in my belly. How about that?
Okay.
I also recommend picking up vanilla.
We do sometimes, but maybe we'll see. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good rest of the week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.